America, Europe, give the land back. Give the artifacts and the art back. Give the fucking resources back to every country, territory that you stole from. Give it back. Because collectively, the world is looking right at you, America, I'm American, and Europe. I'm sick and tired of these colonizing white men. Y'all are the minority in the world, and yet you are continuing to colonize Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, everything. France still has fucking art from fucking Africa. Give it back. Stop stealing. Stop
Yeah, man,
stealing.
everything's racist. Think about it. Your streets are named after prominent racists in your city, state, or throughout history. Washington, Jackson, Jefferson, Lee. All slaveholders, all racists. Your schools, elementary, middle, and high school, are named after prominent members of your community who are probably racists. Take mine, for example. My middle school was named after Forrest Comer White, a white supremacist who tried to commit murder-suicide by airplane, and our school mascot was a Confederate rebel. Even your institutions of higher learning have their roots in racism. Harvard, Yale, and Brigham Young University is named after racist Brigham Young, who tried to eradicate Native Americans by poisoning them. Traffic, racism. Instead of building highways in the most efficient ways, they ran them specifically through black and brown neighborhoods, and now we have traffic because of that. Seasonal allergies, racism. It's the beautification of the white parts of town with only male trees that continuously pop off pollen with no female trees to absorb them. That's why you have seasonal allergies. Racism. Tipping, racism. White store owners didn't want to pay black employees anything, so they said, if your service is good, leave it up to the customer to pay you, and that's how we got tipping. Student loans, racism. College used to be free, that is, until black people started going to college, and then now you have to pay, and if you can't pay, you take out a student loan. The prohibition on cannabis, racism. You see, it used to be legal, that is, until white people wanted to demonize Mexicans, so they renamed cannabis marijuana, spelled with an H, to sound like Tijuana, so they could justify the mistreatment of Mexican people. That Ford truck you drive, racism. Henry Ford was so racist that Hitler had a picture of him at his desk. He was inspired by the efficiency of his assembly line and used that efficiency to efficiently kill more people. He also got the inspiration for his gas chambers from America's gassing and delousing of Mexican migrants at the border. Argentina is 96% white because of racism. Mexico is known as a mestizo country because of racism. And brown people all around the world are bleaching their skin because of racism's twin sister colorism. Cancer rates in the South? Racism. You see, they like to build petrochemical plants near black and brown neighborhoods, thus giving us higher rates of cancer than those around us. Matter of fact, right here in Louisiana, Mossville, Louisiana, used to be a thriving black town founded by black people, but it was later bought out by a petrochemical plant and bulldozed. Racism. It affects every part of our daily lives, and until we acknowledge that, we can't change it, because we can't change what we refuse to acknowledge. And that's why racism continues to thrive in this country. Because we've raised generations of people to be willfully ignorant of it.
I don't know what's wrong with y'all. In case that first list wasn't enough. Black people also invented GPS, technically navigation, ambulances, Wi-Fi, the baby buggy, home security systems, ranch dressing, super soakers, 3D movies, over 300 uses for the peanut. Let that sink in. 300 inventions on a peanut. Flour, paste, insulation, wallboard, wood stains, soap, shaving cream, lotion, blood transfusions, elevator doors, maxi pads, the modern air conditioner, Nerf guns, spatulas, your literal cell phone that you're watching this on, ironing boards, laser eye surgery, the folding chair, shout out to Alabama, country and rock music, I know that one stings, the modern toilet, the golf tee, keychains, cash register, shoe soles, VR gaming systems, adjustable wrenches, the rotary engine.
ICE didn't come out of nowhere. The strategies and tactics that they employ, as well as the privilege of impunity that they currently enjoy, is a culmination of centuries of state violence that were implemented against Black and Indigenous bodies in this country. What we are seeing today is not new. Our country has always kidnapped, assaulted, disappeared, incarcerated, and murdered Black and Indigenous bodies in this country. We who are here in the Imperial Core, unfortunately, just normalized this and relied on reform and defunding initiatives to solve the issue. We didn't have this sense of urgency to abolish this system because it didn't affect us directly until the Imperial boomerang has arrived. But for a boomerang to return, it must first have been thrown. Let's not also forget that the Mustache Man took inspiration for the Holocaust from U.S. indigenous concentration camps as well as the era of Jim Crow. That apartheid South Africa took inspiration from from U.S. segregation. And of course, that the Israeli state-sanctioned violence took inspiration from our very own police state. We have always been the blueprint. We have always been the arbiter of violence here, domestically, and internationally abroad. That is why now more than ever, it is our duty here in the Imperial Court to resist this fascist government.
This whole foundational Black American conversation, what's the problem? I see my African brothers and sisters getting very offended by this, but I am struggling to understand why, because there is a difference. For example, our ancestors didn't build this bitch. Our ancestors weren't the ones who fought for equality for everyone in this country so that we could immigrate here. Our moms, our dads, our grandparents. Oh, not to mention a lot of those fathers and mothers and grandparents and aunties are racist as hell. Like unambiguously anti-Black, racist as all hell. My sisters and I had to beat that shit out of our Ethiopian parents with the quickness. But I can't deny that it was there. We are African Americans in the most literal way one can be. And they are Black Americans, built into the foundation of this country. So foundational Black American, I don't understand what the problem is. How does that negatively impact us? I can't think of one time that my Ethiopian American ass has been subjugated due to a Black.
And these festivals that y'all keep trying to do a deep dive into on why it's not being televised, no, we're being censored. Don't nobody give a fuck because it ain't us. Y'all really want somebody to care more about y'all than y'all care about yourselves. See, y'all say that we feel that we are the center of everybody's world. Don't nobody give a fuck. We know what's going on. We know exactly what's going on. We know what's going on. We know how it's being handled. We don't give a damn. See, I think that's the part that y'all are so confused about on why it isn't all over the TV. It's because we're not in it and we don't give a damn. You feel what I'm saying? Even if we wasn't in it. See, if we gave a damn, it'd be everywhere. You know what I'm saying? We don't give a damn. Y'all are not violently protesting in somebody else's country. If you ain't home, that is called a terrorist attack. It don't matter how you spin it. If y'all go to Canada and y'all go over there and y'all go to fucking up their bacon and shit, you feel what I'm saying? Y'all just go to tossing ham everywhere. That is a terrorist attack. A Canadian do it? That's just a crazy Canadian. You know what I'm saying? They build Drake. How smart do you think they is? You feel what I'm saying? I'm just saying. It's like it's hard for y'all to differentiate this because y'all want so desperately as to be seen as authentically American, and y'all are not. Weirdos. And when you go into the house, y'all don't go into the house with a different identity and continuously think that that is culture. You cannot think that over there in Africa, over there in Europe, over there in Asia, that people are walking the streets one way culturally and are living culturally different within their home, and that is a part of their culture. No, y'all can't do what we do. We home. You feel what I'm saying? You feel what I'm saying? I know. See, this is the thing. When you really start seeing the world for what it is and your third eye open up, you really realize just how dumb all the shit is. How dumb we've been, how dumb they are, just all of it. How slow can y'all are wondering why y'all can't do what we do in our home? The same reason why that man that whoop his wife ass ain't gonna allow you to whoop his wife ass.
Is it on the internet? I'm an ex-cop. Here's what bothers me about that. So let's say you have a liberal city, let's Los Angeles, San Diego, and they just decide we're going to get rid of that history. We got new history. This is America built off the backs of slaves on stolen land. And that curriculum comes in.
Then we don't send them money. We would save half of our budget.
Okay.
This is going to upset those clowns at Fox News and the Republican nominee. And if we're going to talk about hardcore, blue blood, real American history, then yeah, America was built on slavery, on land we took from indigenous people who were here before us. Why is that so hard to accept? Because none of us alive today had anything to do with that back then, but yet for some reason we just don't want to accept it. But I digress. Let's do a little facts over feelings, a little reality, if you will. Because in the 1800s in America, cotton was king. In the 19th century, cotton literally was king. It accounted for over half of everything we manufactured and exported to other countries for profit. It was the South's economic backbone, and it propped up America's ability to borrow money from overseas banks. Remember, cotton was one of the largest and most profitable industries in the world, and America dominated the global market. Enslaved Americans were so important to the cotton trade that from 1801 to 1862, we saw a 400% increase in production. By 1860, enslaved Americans produced over 2 billion pounds of cotton annually, and we exported 75% of that overseas for profit. In the 1800s, cotton was to our economy as to what oil is to our economy today. Would anyone like to take a guess as to why America became the dominant world leader in cotton production? Because slave traders went to Africa, put men, women, and children in shackles and chains, put them in the bowels of a ship, transported them to all over the world, but the ones that came to America, and there were over 10 million of them, they were imported just like cotton was being exported. And these men and women were put into the fields to work with a gun at their head and a whip to their back, and they had to work under fear of punishment, torture, or being unalived. And let's be honest with ourselves, America did this because it gave us an exponentially cheap and unlimited labor source to put into the fields. I'm going to be honest, I watched that clip several times to try to understand what the little man on the right was saying. He was saying in liberal cities, they're no longer teaching history, they're teaching new history based on how we were built on slavery on stolen land. Did I heard that right? And did the Republican dude in the middle say that if schools did that, he would cut off federal funding to them? I can't make this shit up. As always, Black history is American history.
America was never broken. It was built this way on purpose, on stolen lands by stolen people. It made trillions of black pins and still wants to profit off our silence. But that era, that silence is ending. Black America is waking up and the system knows it. Of course you do, right? You won't tell me you don't know. Your people, your oppressors actually know that you're coming. So remember, from cotton fields to cell blocks, from entertainment to unpaid labor, this system thrives when we are in pains. But what happens when we refuse to bleed for it anymore? What do you think happens when we refuse to bleed for it anymore? It's not going to be easy, and a lot of people, like we back in Africa, we can't wait for it. To be honest, it will happen in our time. Let's watch these videos and I'll be back. Do not forget to give me a subscribe and do not forget to share this video. It will sure be educative and also entertaining as well. Let's keep watching.
Good evening, everybody. I was just watching a TikTok a little bit earlier by a beautiful sister, and she was talking about how America has broken her heart, how this rapid movement backwards, this rush to segregation, the rush back into Jim Crow, all of this, and how it was breaking her heart. And I don't know how I feel about that. And she is right to have her feelings, and I respect them deeply. But I'm not sure America has broken my heart. I don't know that I've ever expected. I was hopeful that we could be better, but I think age has taught me a few things. Being in leadership, being out in corporate America, all these mythologies about the greatness of America. A lot of holes have been shot into that for me just by working with people that you expected to be better, but they weren't. I have had some really disappointing kind of interactions with people that I thought, even you with your liberal leanings and all of that, and your outspokenness about rights, but when it came down to it, I wouldn't count on you to do anything to protect me. And so maybe it's how I protected myself, and never fully believing in this concept and the propaganda that America has put out about its greatness, its uniqueness, its leaders of the free world. And maybe it's because I've traveled all over the world. I'm heading to my 20th country on Thursday. So I've been a lot of places, and I have been in small towns in the middle of nowhere in Hungary and other places where I know nobody was thinking about America and its idea of superiority. But the people were kind. They took care of each other. They took care of their families. Their health care was taken care of. They were in family homes. There was togetherness, and they weren't worrying about their government turning on them like a rabid dog. And I guess the other part of me is that history repeats itself over and over and over again. And as education is threatened right now, we have got to do some work with the freedom schools in the summer, but also if you have skill sets, especially around history, you need to share those with students. You need to make it fun, but you need to make it educational, and so they understand what happened during slavery, what happened right after slavery, what was Reconstruction about, what were the remnants of Jim Crow, how do we get to Jim Crow, what was happening that drove the country into these extremely oppressive things that they were doing to black folks. What has always fueled the behavior that we're seeing now, that we thought with time, with 60, 70 years behind some of these laws, that we thought we were better, that somehow we figured out that formula. But those who look like me, who are in a lot of these spaces, understood a lot of this stuff was just under the surface. There was compliance because people were afraid to not look good. And not looking good meant not having the business they wanted, i.e. Target. Target never really believed necessarily in DEI, but they saw it as a good thing to do for business. And their values disappeared. Their supposed values disappeared when there was any pressure at all put on them. And so this is what I see, and this is what I've seen for a long time in a lot of the circles in which I do my work, that there are times when people are highly sincere when they come to me and they want me to work on their organizational cultures, but there are times when I have an interview with an organization and I decide to say no, because I know their value systems are too flaky, they're too dependent on what the flavor of the month is, and I know they're not going to do right by their workers, by their teams. And so I don't take those contracts anymore. I'll never be desperate enough to take on valueless organizations for my own personal reputation, but the emotional trauma it gives to me when I know I'm working with people who are fake. So I don't know, I'm rambling a bit, but I am disappointed, yes. Surprised, not a lot. Hurt a little, because I don't want my kids and my grandchildren to suffer under what I realize my grandparents suffered under. And so that's the tougher thing for me, is just the actual, what these policies will actually do to us. But in terms of deep surprise or hurt, probably not, because my expectations were just not that high. I wanted them to be better, but this man told us who he was. He surrounded himself with people who were just like him, and their whole idea is to destroy this democracy and turn it into a dictatorship and secure all the power and the money they possibly can before they die in the next few years so they can give it to their kids. And that everybody else is suffering, that people are going to be losing it soon. They don't care. They don't care. This man has spent a third of his time in the office golfing. And so there's not a care about us. You never hear him talk about what is going to make America better. It's just who he could beat up. And with that kind of leader, this is where we are. This country was always vulnerable to that type of leader. We just never thought we'd elect one. And now we know how surfacey a lot of these commitments were to multiculturalism, to a lot of these things. They were transactional. And so when pressed at all to stop doing it, I'm watching this in colleges and universities and corporations, I'm seeing people capitulate before they're even asked to do so. They're like, oh, okay, well, we may not get all the money we used to get. We don't believe in that anymore, or whatever. Did you ever? And so I pray for us as a nation. I am also trying to protect myself as much as I can, as well as my peace. But we're in for a pretty terrible ride for the next few years. So please protect your heart. Lower your expectations. Do the best that you can do, but don't think that there's some white horse that's going to ride up and save us, because we are now in a constitutional crisis. This man is refusing to do things that the Supreme Court is telling him to do. Y'all, that's a constitutional crisis. This is a dictatorship. And the sooner we figure out that's where we are, and then figure out what our next steps are, the better. So just my thoughts for tonight.
My God, today. It's Sunday, you glorious motherfuckers. And remember, I don't celebrate holidays, so no happy Easters. We got that out the way. It's a boundary, and I owe you no explanation. But let's get into it, shall we? I was scrolling these TikTok streets, and I came across a video, and I'm going to share it with you. Right, great. Every time I say, or we say, black folk, not folk who just happen to be black, not the tokens that Nick Fuentes just tried. No. Every time black folk tell y'all in live spaces that everything in the United States of America is rooted in racism, because the foundation of the United States of America is racism. You digging what I'm putting down? Great, pause. We know what this is, right? Imperial sugar. Been around since 1843. Okay, hold on. Here's the history of imperial sugar. Now, I want you to pay specific attention to where it says, while the company's original plant in Sugar Land, Texas is no longer in operation, it continues to operate in other states. Imperial Sugar Company's corporate headquarters are still located in Sugar Land, Texas. This is going to be important. Pause. I need y'all to buckle up, Buttercup. I'm going to share a video with you that I just learned. And I am a native goddamn Texan, and I did not know this. So this is education for me as well as y'all. Pause, my babies.
There's a town in Texas called Sugarland. There was some land that was owned by the Fort Bend, Texas School District. Before it was owned by the school district, it was the Texas Central State Prison. But before it was that, it was called Imperial Farm, work farm for convict laborers. But before it was that, it was a sugar plantation. All of the labor was provided by slave labor. Sugarcane harvesting and milling is backbreaking and dangerous work. But after the Civil War, the slaves were freed. The Southern elites needed a way to get free labor, and they invented a system called convict leasing. It was a system where the state would arrest somebody, usually a black man. Instead of housing them at the penitentiary, they'd send them to these prison farms. People did not last very long. Many of them died within days, weeks, or months of actually arriving there. So fast forward into the mid-2000s, and they were breaking ground for this new school building in Sugarland, and lo and behold, one of the guys saw a bone sticking up out of the ground. They found a mass grave with 95 sets of remains, and it turned out that these people had been imprisoned at the Imperial Farm. They called it the Imperial Farm because it was owned by the Imperial Sugar Company, which is still in existence and is now a billion-dollar public company.
Now they got me to thinking, what school was built on that ground that was broken in 2000 that used to be a burial site for enslaved black folk? Pause yet again, Bookie. It's the goddamn University of Houston at Sugarland. It was built on the very ground where our people lost their fucking lives harvesting goddamn sugar cane to make imperial sugar. And just to give you an idea, this is the racial demographic of the population in Sugarland. Great. So when I say, and other black folks say, everything in the United States of America is based on race and racism because the foundation of the United States of America is racism, we know what the fuck we talking about. Any questions, Bookies? No? That is all, beloved. Y'all have a day and enjoy your Sunday.
You know how people right now say the country's going backwards? I'm going to give you a demonstration of that. I'm not going to talk about economics in that kind of way, but I'm going to talk to you about enslavement was about 250 years, right? From 1619 to 1865 or thereabout, maybe not in Texas. Okay, so that's about 250 years, 246, 250 years. Jim Crow and segregation followed that. That was 100 years. So really, a lot of people like to say, you know, we were enslaved for 350 years because Jim Crow and segregation was slavery, about 90% of enslavement. It was about 90%. Now that 90% declined as you get closer to 1965 when the civil rights passage was passed, when civil rights laws were passed. So you got 250 years, you got another 100 years, you got the civil rights laws from 1965 to right now. That's only 60 years. I'm 61. I was born in 64. I was born 1 year before the civil rights laws were passed. So I was born in that time of Jim Crow and segregation, right? The tail end of it, but those laws were passed in 1965. So here we are in 2025. We can effectively say that the era of civil rights is over. It was a 60-year period. It was only 60 years that the majority of white people, not all, I see you, you're one of the good ones, I see you, not all. It was only 60 years that white people were able to accept black people having a type of freedom that allowed us to excel and achieve and grow and change this country and change ourselves. And despite what you see on the nightly news, on movies and TV, and in big media, legacy media, black people achieved a lot in those 60 years. And you know what? Look, that's not to disregard the 250 years that our ancestors worked through to get to those 100 years that our ancestors, my grandparents, my parents and grandparents fought to get to 1965 to get us to right here. We've seen one of the most remarkable community civilization turnarounds and glow up in world history in those 60 years. But they will tell you that we accomplished nothing and all we asked for were handouts. Don't believe those lies. Black women at the top of education. We build businesses. We build communities. We have achievements that have spanned the globe and emulated our culture, Our people, our styles, our music, our movies, our books, our education, our sociology, it's everywhere. We did that in 60 years. And the backlash you have right now is to that. But they're not going to win. We are.
America, Europe, give the land back. Give the artifacts and the art back. Give the fucking resources back to every country, territory that you stole from. Give it back. Because collectively, the world is looking right at you, America. I'm American. And Europe. I'm sick and tired of these colonizing white men. Y'all are the minority in the world, and yet you are continuing to colonize Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, everything. France still has fucking art from fucking Africa. Give it back. Stop stealing. Stop stealing, kleptos.
You know what? The truth is, we are not begging anymore. Yeah, we are building. We are owning voices. Our platforms as tourists. The system's biggest fear is happening. We're not, waiting on it to save us. We are leaving it behind. This isn't just a moment, it's a turning point. Yeah, that era where black pain was normal, where struggle was expected, where injustice was legal, is ending. And we are the ones ending it. Amen. Say amen to it. This system is built on our pain, but it will collapse under the weight of our power. From trauma to triumph, that's the journey now. Right? That's the journey. Yeah, we are now from trauma, to triumph. We're winning. From silence to strength. Yeah, from silence to strength. Let's watch. Let's just watch them panic. Because we are no longer asking to be included. We are building something they can't control. Kabaya! I can't wait for this. To be honest, I cannot wait for this. I hope you all are getting educated. I hope you all are getting the right resources you need for this. You're getting the right, answers for this. Because see, first of all, it starts with education. If the black system is not that educated, you can't fight this. Do not stop going to school. I'm so happy that you guys are going to school. See, victory is sure. I see the victory closer than you think. And let me tell you, you're going to always refer to this video. And you're going to say, Beejay said it. You say she said it. You guys are taking over. If you believe you're taking over, let me see it in the comments, okay? Just give me a shout out. Say, thank you, Beejay. You did well. Don't worry. Just calm down. Do not cry anymore. You will avenge the pains of your ancestors. Say amen to that. So do not forget to subscribe, like, share this video, right? Like I said, it's going to be very entertaining. Share it to your people. We encourage strength right now because we have a tough battle ahead of us to fight. But we're doing it, and I'm so happy. The platforms are there. People are beginning to speak about it. And the fear is there. The fear is there. The slave masters' kids are scared because they see the vengeance coming like very close. So let me see you on the next one. Bye, guys. Do not forget it's Global Just with Beejay. I am blessed by name. Do not forget to always support the hood. It's your sister from Africa, and I love you all. Bye, guys.